What's going on, YouTube family? Welcome to Automotive Life. My name is Lucky, and today we're going to be talking about why dealerships are still refusing to lower car prices. Now, the only thing uglier than the used car market is this sweater that I'm wearing. But before I get into the video, if you could do me a huge favor and gently squeeze the like button. Also, please consider subscribing. We do post 2 times a week. And make sure you follow us on Instagram at Lucky Lopez, and let's get into the video. So you don't have to be a rocket scientist to see that the economy is slowing down. Back in October, a lot of major companies were announcing hiring freezes. Fast forward to today, and Amazon just laid off 18,000 people. The housing market inventory has reached pre-pandemic levels, and prices have started to be reduced. We're watching car sales slow down dramatically as well. All these signs point to a recession. But for some reason, some dealers have still not come to grips with what's actually happening in the current market. So back in high school, I used to have an amazing history teacher, and one of his favorite sayings was, "Fools that ignore history are doomed to repeat it." So back in 2007, I had lunch with a friend of mine that was kind of a real estate mogul here in Vegas. And back then he was telling me that you need to sell whatever I have and get as liquid as possible. That we're living in an inflation or an asset bubble. I've never heard these terminologies before, and I asked him more and more about it, and he told me that the same thing happened in the 70s as well as the 80s, but he neglected to act on it. So fast forward to 2007, 2008, he decided to do that. So he sold all his portfolio and got rid of everything. Fast forward, in 2010, he bought it back for pennies on the dollar from the company that he sold it to when they were going through bankruptcy. So now you have 90% of the people out there saying that, the economy's fine, prices are gonna go up, housing prices are gonna go up, car prices are gonna stay high. But then you have the 10% of the people that are saying it's gonna get bad, things are gonna get worse, you need to prepare for the best, start liquidating your assets, getting rid of your stuff, moving your inventory. Now this sounded very familiar because I heard the same thing back in 2008, and the 90%ers did not act on it, and that's why the whole country fell and wound up being a worldwide economic issue. Now, I believe the same thing is gonna happen in 2023. We're gonna have a lot of dealers that are holding on to overpriced inventory that absolutely refuse to lower it. Now, I've gotten calls, emails, DMs on Instagram of sales managers, salesmen, finance managers, used car managers, all scared because they see the writing on the wall. But they all had one thing in common. Either their general manager or the owner group refused to lower prices, when even though some of their average cars were going on past 100 days. Now that's very scary when it comes to the used car industry, because we don't want to keep a car any longer than 90 days. Usually about 45 to 65 days, you just want to keep turning your inventory. So in the beginning of December, I made an update video on what was going on in the used car market. And we talked about how Kelley Blue Book and retail values dropped over 12% in the month of November, which scared a lot of dealers. I started getting phone calls, emails. People were starting to get worried about their jobs because they know that if they don't sell cars, the companies are either going to lay them off or fire them. So they went up to the upper management, their GMs, their ownership group, and started talking about we need to lower prices of cars, and they refused. Now, keep this in mind. Let's say you have $1 million in inventory. Just from the month of November, you lost $120,000 of value in your inventory like that in just 30 days. Now, for the month of December, it was 7% wholesale values lost. So let's just add that on there and let's clean it out to an even $200,000. So they lost $200,000 in 2 months of having $1 million of inventory. Now that's a very scary number. So when I see this stuff, it panicked me even more. So I even reduced the prices of my cars and started selling them even faster because I knew that something was going to happen and it was going to slow down the market. Fast forward to January, I'm still getting the exact same calls from dealerships, sales managers, GMs, finance managers. Their owners absolutely refuse to lower prices. And this is the problem with dealers. So if you see in my comment section every time I say that used car prices are going down and you get half the people saying, oh, prices are the same, nothing's going down, it's because a lot of the dealers absolutely refuse to lower prices. And I'll tell you why. Ego, pride, and arrogance. For some reason, this is only in our business, these people think that they can't lose money on a car. I'm going to tell you guys this right now. If you're in the used car market or you're in the automotive business, you will lose money. Nobody's perfect. I lost a ton of money. I've talked about it in a bunch of my videos. You're always going to lose money on cars. That's part of the thing. But as long as your pluses outweigh your minuses, you'll be fine in the long run. But it's always better to just move the vehicle. We have my favorite saying, you can always replace the car, you can't replace the customer. But for some reason, dealers absolutely refuse. So one of these sales managers is telling me that they were running this car on sale, this Silverado truck, that they were upside down and it was worth almost $5,000 more than Kelley Blue Book retail. So finally they found somebody that was willing to take it where they could break even. Back in November, the owner said no. They're in business to make money, not to break even. So the car stayed there for another month. In December, they had somebody else that was crazy enough to buy it with a big enough down payment, but they were going to lose $1,100 on the deal. The owner, once again, said, no, I'm not going to lose money on a deal. We need to make money. He just told me that he took it to the auction because they had to pay off their flooring line and get it off. They took a $14,000 hit on this particular vehicle. And this is the problem with dealers. They get so blinded by pride, arrogance, and just sheer ignorance that they get tunnel vision. And what do I mean by tunnel vision? Let's just say that this car right here, they have it up for sale. And it's been there for over 100 days. You need to get rid of this car. They could sell it today to break even or to maybe lose $1,500. But dealers only see this. They're like, I don't want to lose $1,500 on this car. So they're going to let it sit there month after month after month. Where what we teach and what everybody else pretty much should use common sense is we have another car that's right over here at the auction. Because remember, car prices are going down at auction. You can get the exact same car for cheaper now than you did back, 100 days ago. So now let's say he could buy this car and make $1,500. Just by making $1,500 on this new car, he can cancel out his negative equity on this deal. So let's say he would have sold this in November. He would have bought this in November, sold it in December, he'd have $1,500. And then he gets another car back at book at auction. But let's say he makes a measly $1,500. And in January, boom, he's in the green. All it took was to transact 2 vehicles to make up for this one lost one. But no, that makes too much sense. Dealers don't want to have to go out and buy another car and risk it. They want to make money on their one car that's sitting there, that's overpriced, that's collecting dust, that they're buried on. And this is the problem. Like I said, they get tunnel vision. Now, you also have to remember that let's say they're into this car $50,000 when they bought it. They had recon cost, they had carrying costs. So every month this is on your floor plan. Let's say it costs you $500. Fast forward, now we're into January, that's $1,500 extra on this vehicle that they're gonna lose. So now they're not only into it over retail, they reconned it, now they got monthly compounding costs coming onto this vehicle. But I don't know why the car business is the only business where dealers refuse to sell cars for a loss. You see major manufacturers, clothing manufacturers, there's companies like Ross, Max, and everything else where if you have a bunch of clothing that you can't sell because it's too ugly, you can literally bring it to these guys and they'll turn around and sell it because they'd rather get the fresh new inventory into the stores to make a profit. Because the stuff in the past is old. We always have this thing, you don't ever chase old or dead money. And that's exactly what an older car is. Any aged unit on your inventory is a burden. It's a boat anchor and you're holding onto the rope and it's doing more damage than to just let it go. But for some reason, that's why dealers refuse to lower prices. So why do I think it's going to get really bad for car dealers in 2023? Well, first, it's because of dealerships' ego. They refuse to sell cars at a loss. So what's going to happen? The salesmen, the sales staff, the finance managers are going to be putting a lot of pressure to get rid of these cars. And also the owner's going to put a lot of pressure on them. So what's going to happen is either one, their staff is going to quit, or the owner's going to fire them. And now you're going to have turnover of people, which is never good in the industry. And especially during a slow time, if this happens, a lot of the people, just like in real estate back in '08, in construction, people went away from real estate and construction, went to other jobs. If the car market's getting really bad and they get fired, they're probably just going to go get a different job. They're not get back into the car business. So now you're losing very talented, qualified people that can help you push inventory because dealers refuse to lower prices. Fast forward, flooring lines. I cannot believe I have this conversation every week with dealers and they still don't understand how flooring lines work. When you buy a mortgage, your interest rate is set in stone. Your flooring line is not set in stone. It's points over prime or points over whatever you buy. Read your contract. I had dealers that were telling me it's not that bad. My flooring fees on this car were only $1,500. I can do it. And then I told them, oh, no, that was before the interest rate hikes. So now this car costed you $2,800, not $1,500. And they have to go back into their contracts, recalculate it in their DSM, and realize that they're losing even more money on a car that's costing them even more. And this is some of the things that's killing dealers. On top of that, we're watching banks completely change the lending industry. So one of the crazy things I've been seeing is finance, and we're gonna talk about Westlake. Now, Westlake is a great company because it's an automated system that you can set up with Dealer Center. So if you're a new dealer or anything else, it's very simplistic to use, very easy to work a deal. And they usually give you automatic approvals. So every time I do training or I set up a new dealership, this is what we teach people on. But they used to take people with 3 months, 6-month job history. But for some reason now, instead of saying 3 months or 6 months, now they're asking me how many hours did they work? Is it a full-time employee or is it a part-time employee? And then even if they make $3,000, $4,000, $5,000 a month, they still require that. And then now they want pay stubs, bank statements, and W-2s. So every step and every month, every basically week that banks have more repos and more defaults, they're tightening that credit news tighter and tighter. And so banks that I never thought would ask for all this crazy stipulations are asking for all kinds of documentation to guarantee the loan. And we're not talking expensive, crazy cars. We're talking $10,000, $15,000, $20,000 cars. 6-month bank statements, pay stubs that have to match, a W-2. They want to make sure that your down payment is enough, that you have full coverage insurance. Now they're verifying everything. It's getting much, much harder for them to finance people. And they've also cut out the limit where if the car's worth 20 grand, they're going to finance 18,000. They're not going to finance 20. So you need to put enough money down for sales tax and also for a down payment to bring it down to the total amount financed of 18,000. Banks are slowly offsetting their risk because of what's going on in the market. Also, as we talked about, the economy is slowing down. The demand for used cars is dramatically dropping. You can go on Car Gurus. I say this all the time. You can see average days on market is now over 60 days, which is crazy. That was higher than pre-pandemic levels. So all the people that are screaming, they can't get a deal, you can get a deal. And if you wait till the end of the second quarter of 2023, I bet my ass that you will get an amazing deal because people simply can't afford this. Now, as we move forward, we're going to see more layoffs, we're going to see more bank tightening, and we're going to see cars like this start dropping more and more in value. I still have my Audi R8 for sale. I've had a few people make me offers. I can afford to hold on and sit on it, and I'm not really too worried about it. But I'm probably going to take a lower offer here in a little bit because I know that the bank is dropping. Am I going to lose a few bucks? Yes, but I'd rather lose a few bucks and get into another car in an equity position in the next 2 to 3 months, and I'll be fine. I'll offset my risk because I think logically. For some reason, I don't know why it is, dealers don't think this way. I think that's why my channel's been doing rather well and a lot of people share my things. I got some really cool interviews that are coming out on major news companies here shortly. Also, I'm hoping to get in with some more automotive companies and talk about some of the things. So also for the future, I have new classes coming out. I have a whole new CRM system, which is going to be great. It's going to book my calls. It's going to send me messages right away. So this way, I know I missed a few consulting calls and I want to make sure that we get everybody on track to set up their dealership. I'm also very excited for our monthly subscription. We're going to be doing a 1-hour weekly Q&A session via Zoom where you guys can ask me any questions on the automotive industry, whether that's repairing cars, flipping cars, wholesaling, being a dealer, finance questions, rental car companies, whatever it is, or anything that's currently going on in the automotive industry. We're going to be having that go up hopefully at the end of this month, which I'm really excited about. So stay tuned for that. And also, if you have any questions or any comments, please put them in the section below. I love to look at them. Now, even if your opinion is different from mine, that's okay. We can still be friends. But it's very important to me to let me know what's going on in your market. If you're seeing dealers finally lower prices, or if you see dealers actually raising prices because they're trying to offset their losses, we love to hear about it. Also, if you have a good dealer, if there's a dealer that hooked you up with a deal, that gave you a great deal on a car, we would love to hear about them too. It doesn't have to be all negative. But anyways, I want to thank you guys so much for watching. Please smash the like button. Also, click subscribe. Follow us on Instagram at Lucky Lopez, and we'll see you next video.